All right, good morning, everyone. And I'd like to welcome you to the next session, the next session number two for the Small Business Workshop, Reemerging from the Abyss. My name is Mark S. Lee. I'm the founder and president, CEO of the Lee Group. And we are an integrated strategic marketing consulting organization headquartered here in Metro Detroit. I'm also an adjunct professor, a radio host, a blogger, and also a media contributor as well. And we're focused certainly on this series of helping you to reemerge from the abyss, reemerge from the abyss. And I got to tell you, I'm so pleased to welcome all of you. Thank you again for joining us. We had record numbers last week for the kickoff for the individual workshops, which we're currently in right now. This was a record number of folks registering for an individual workshop. So even when we do these in person, this is the highest number. So thank you very much for your support. And I also want to acknowledge that this is in fact being recorded as well. So this session is being recorded. So again, thank you for joining us for the seventh annual Small Business Workshop presented by Fifth Third Bank. And certainly this is our second consecutive year for having a virtual workshop as well. So I'm pleased to be able to join you for this second straight year virtually. And again, this event is free. This event is free, and without our sponsors and partners, this would not be able to happen. And so let me take a moment to acknowledge our following sponsors again. Fifth Third Bank, the presenting sponsor. We have the Detroit Development Fund. We also have a Comcast Business, Build Institute, and we have partners engaged as well, including Michigan Women Forward, State Farm agent Cindy Fletcher out of Plymouth, Michigan, Tanner Freeman, which is a strategic communications firm, and WTBS, Detroit Public Television. So we want to thank all of them for their support. They've been with me for a long time. We really mean that. We certainly appreciate them. I would also like to welcome our presenting sponsor again, Fifth Third Bank, to make a few comments. And I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Jason Paulatier, Senior Vice President, Market Manager, North Region Community Development and Social Responsibility, to say a few words on behalf of Fifth Third Bank. Jason, good morning.
Good morning, Mark, and good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, perfect. So like Mark said, this is the seventh year of the workshop, and there is a reason that Fifth Third has been the presenting sponsor every year since its inception. It's because we truly believe that small businesses are the backbone of our economy and of our communities. And we want to make sure that they have the tools and resources they need to be successful. This year's theme, Reemerging from the Abyss, couldn't come at a more opportune time, as it does feel a bit like we're seeing the light at the end of the pandemic tunnel. As we all know, small businesses have been hit exceptionally hard over the last 14 months, but we've also seen how resilient and creative they can be. We want you to know that Fifth Third Bank is here for you, as our partners like the Lee Innovation Group and Comcast Business, as well as all of the CDFIs that we work with in the community, providing much needed access to capital. I'm very proud that Fifth Third sponsors this workshop and that we were able to provide you some truly amazing speakers this year. Last week, we heard from Jeff Korzenik and Kala Gibson from our shop. And just as we thought, they did not disappoint. This week's topic on navigating change, the journey to success, builds on that conversation. And I look forward to Mark's conversation with Pam Dover of Comcast. And we all know that Dr. Bill Pickard is going to bring the heat, as he always does. So thank you for joining today. I am confident you'll hear about great ways to keep your business moving forward in the right direction. And I hope to see you all again soon in person for this event. Thanks, Mark.
Jason, good morning again. Thank you. Thank you very much. We want to again thank Fifth Third as the presenting sponsor. They have been with me since day one. They're doing some great work in the community, and we would encourage you to continue to engage with them as well. And as I referenced earlier, and Jason referenced it as well, last week was a great event. And we had record numbers. We in fact basically sold out, although the event stopped being obviously sold. It's a free event, but we were at full capacity. There is certainly an appetite for something like this. Absolutely no question about that. There is an appetite. And another amazing sponsor that we've had since day one has been Comcast Business. And she's going to have a very special guest, Pamela Dover, in a second. But she's also going to make a very special announcement regarding a potential giveaway. But I'm going to let her share that with you as well. So you definitely want to stay tuned. Pamela's a dear friend of mine, Pamela Dover. She's the Senior Director of Business Development and Marketing for Comcast Business. And she's an award-winning cable executive with more than 28 years of industry experience, including sales and business, marketing, community investment, government affairs, and public relations. And she has a proven track record of progressive responsibilities and demonstrated success. Pam and I have the distinct honor of sitting on a couple of boards together, most specifically, most notably, Name It Detroit. She's on many boards here across Metro Detroit and has received over 90 local and national awards. And she serves on several chambers as well. Again, I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Ms. Pamela Dover, Senior Director of Business Development and Marketing on behalf of Comcast Business. Pamela, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. And just want to say good morning to all of you who are there this morning. I'm so glad that, Comcast, we are again sponsoring this wonderful session. And also thanks to Fifth Third for the partnership. These businesses deserve to hear such great wisdom and knowledge from our panelists and from our speakers. It's so important, and love that we'll hear from Dr. Pickard a little bit later. So on behalf of business, we're always honored to sponsor these types of workshops for businesses. Comcast is very committed to helping small business grow, survive, and thrive. With one of the largest gig speed networks in the world, our technology solutions are helping millions of businesses. We're just not a cable company. We're not just internet, video, and voice, but we have so many products that really helps these businesses survive. But also, we care and we form meaningful and impactful partnerships that make a difference for small businesses, like today, this morning. And that's why we selected to be a sponsor. So when COVID hit hard and racial injustice, Comcast wanted to help those businesses that were hit the hardest. They were Black and Indigenous and people of color businesses. So our company overall made a multi-year $100 million commitment to fight social injustice. That commitment includes for our customers, more content, including the launch of the Black Experience channel, then for the community, an expansion of our Internet Essentials program that has been around for over 10 years that provide low-cost internet service for disadvantaged households. We created Live Zones as an extension of Internet Essentials by partnering with community and recreation centers to provide them with Wi-Fi services for kids that don't have internet in their home. And so these community and rec centers provide a safe place that they could do their homework. But we also found that it's not just kids that are using the Comcast Live Zones, but it's in adults as well. So our company now has provided and going to support by giving $1 billion to make sure that we connect more recreation and community centers across the country. For our employees, we have DEI training, including unconscious bias, speakers, a great speaker series like Dr. Colin Powell, Ibram Kennedy, and Isabel Wilkerson. We have also provided more dollars for our resource groups, and I'm proud to champion our Black Employee Network. Also, for social justice, we're giving millions of dollars. And then for small businesses, we created the Comcast Rise program. And now we'd love for you to see a video.
that I'm giving up.
To the architects of ambition, from the cornerstones to the corner stores, to the champions of community. You supply in these days of demand. And because you persist, you'll always prevail. Keep rising, keep rising, keep rising. Apply today for business, marketing, and tech makeovers on us.
So proud of the Comcast Rise program that was started in October of 2020, again, to help businesses that were hit hard by COVID. And basically, it's an application process. Small businesses that are Black, Indigenous, or people of color would go on the ComcastRise.com website, and they could win media. We would also provide them with a 30-second commercial, which is very, very expensive, as well as a media schedule on CNN, BET, other networks. They will work with our experts and to place those, and or a tech makeover. And this tech makeover would include laptops and computers. Then there was a second phase of Rise called the Comcast Rise Investment Fund. And Detroit was one of the 5 cities that received $1 million. And on April 27th, I'm so proud to announce that we gave 100 businesses $10,000 as a part of the Rise investment. And those are Detroit-based businesses. So you can apply too for the initial phase of Rise by going on ComcastRise.com website to either receive a tech makeover or the media schedule that I mentioned. I'm honored to work for a company that cares and continues to demonstrate their commitment to change and helping small businesses. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce one of our first Comcast Rise Tech Makeover winners from last year. Her name is Tammy Hawkins. She is the owner and director of the Zone Dance Studio. The Dance Center here in Southfield.
All right, we're fortunate to have a grant winner with us, Tammy Hawkins. But Pamela, I want to thank you very much again for your support. And by the way, it's my understanding might there be a TV giveaway potentially down the road. Is that right?
Yes, Mark, I'm so glad you said that because we are so excited. We are going to be giving away for this conference a 43-inch smart TV. And so we're going to give it away at the last date, which is, I think is that May 26th?
May 26th.
May 26th. So all the participants throughout the conference who attended, their names will be placed in a drawing, and we will draw on that day to give away this grand prize. So attendees, you get a perk for being here as well, and you could win this marvelous TV.
All right, Pamela, thank you very much. So you don't want to miss this session, the next session, and the last session, which is May 26th, with a chance of winning a 43-incher. They gave away a TV when we did this face-to-face, and people just loved it. So, and it's a beautiful, beautiful TV. Pamela, again, thank you very much. And again, we're so pleased to welcome Miss Tammy Hawkins. And Tammy, you want to mute yourself there. And she's the owner of the Dance Center. And so we're just going to have a couple questions for you as we talk about reemerging from the abyss. My very first question, Tammy, is tell us briefly about your business. What is your business, the Zone Dance Center?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to the RISE program. I'm just so excited about being one of the recipients. We're located in Southfield, Michigan. We've been here 17 years. We offer dance classes in ballet, tap, jazz, lyrical, hip hop, modern, contemporary, competition groups, and classical ballet. We offer it for students. Since the pandemic, we started two-year-old students all the way to adults. So we are a family-friendly school, and we give quality education.
And how long have you been in business, Tammy?
17 years. 17
years, and that's a long time. And clearly, you know, I'm sure there have been ups and downs over that 17-year period. We had the great economic economic recession back in 2007, 2008, not just in Detroit, but across the
Right.
country. But there's been nothing like the last 13 months with this pandemic. No question about it. COVID-19 caught all of us, and we all had to make some adjustments. So from your perspective, how has the pandemic over the last 13 months impacted your business specifically?
Well, originally with the beginning of the pandemic, we had to shut down, of course, where we were shut down for a couple months, no classes, no anything. And then from there, we went to Zoom only classes. And then from that, we went to hybrid classes. So we did a lot of pivoting. We had to also um, reconstruct how we do business here as far as how many students are allowed in the studio. We had to make sure we social distance, we incorporated sanitizing stations, that kind of thing. Certainly it was an impact on our enrollment. But you know, we're fighting through, and just like I said, we're being flexible and making changes where we need to.
But you've been fighting through and you're still in business. And as
Yeah.
we talked about last week, to all of you tuning in, within the first 3 months of the
Right.
pandemic hitting, 17% of all businesses across the country shut down partially or fully. I've talked about it on various media platforms and things like that. But 41% of Black businesses shut down within the first 3 months of the pandemic. Think about that for a second. I repeat that number because it's important to understand that. But yet we have Tammy Hawkins here, and she is still in business. And so, Tammy, let me come back to you. We heard Pamela talk about Comcast Rise, and let's talk about the Comcast Rise tech makeover. How did that help your business specifically?
Oh, it's been amazing. We received the high-speed internet for businesses, which is certainly important for all our Zoom classes, making sure we can see the students and the students can see us. We also received laptops, which have been just incredible. We're able to use those in all our studios, and so that our staff had access to laptops that they didn't have before. So we are just so thankful for what Comcast has done for us, and just so appreciative.
Absolutely. And we know that Comcast, as Pamela referenced, had $1 million in grants given out to over 100 businesses across Metro Detroit, mostly in the city of Detroit, which is great. That's $10,000 per business. You should think about that financial help as well. Why do you feel like programs like this, Tammy, are so important to small businesses, particularly minority-owned businesses? Why is this program beneficial to you?
Well, it gives us a helping hand. It helps us to move forward, stay competitive, stay in the game, which is the most important thing. So it's like what Pam said in her presentation, it's like having a partner.
Yeah.
So we're just so thankful.
Absolutely. And I got to ask you the most important question. Tell us the location of your business
Right.
and how can people certainly support your business as well?
Okay, we're located in Southfield, Michigan. We're located on Northwestern Highway, just south of 12 Mile. You can get in touch with us. You can reach us on our website or see us on our website, what we're doing. On the website, we have our Facebook and Instagram. You can follow us there. If you'd like to give us a call, old-fashioned way, 248-353-9663. We're here after 4:30 in the evenings. And email, thezonedancecenter@gmail.com.
And Tammy, before you go, hang tight. Pamela, I'm going to ask you one more time for more information about this program. The website that people can go to is
ComcastRise.com.
ComcastRise.com. And before Pamela and Tammy go, I will do a little bit of quick promotion here. They will be on my radio show this Sunday. And we're going to have a 20 to 25 minute conversation, in-depth conversation on this topic. I would encourage you to join us. That's this Sunday. I forgot what time. I think it's at 11:30, I believe. Correct me, but check my social media feeds. I have so many guests each and every single week, but don't forget to tune in. And that's on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation here in Detroit. Pamela Dover, thank you very much. Tammy, thank you very much, Tammy Hawkins.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We're going to segue into I call him a Detroit legend. He really needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him the proper introduction because he deserves it. And we have a little personal story between us as well, between Dr. Pickard and my dad, my father. But William F. Pickard, Dr. Pickard is executive chairman and founder of GAA Manufacturing and Supply Chain Management, GAA New Ventures, co-managing partner, MGM Grand Detroit Casino, CEO of Bearwood Management McDonald's, and co-owner of 5 Black-owned newspapers. He has a 50-year entrepreneurial career that began as a McDonald's franchise here in the Motor City. And since its founding in 1989, GAA has generated more than $5 billion in sales with 8 plants in the US and Canada, and services corporations such as Boeing, Mercedes-Benz, Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, formerly known as Chrysler, Delphi, Johnson Controls, Starbucks, Home Depot, Merck Pharmaceutical. We can go on. He's also a member. He's on many nonprofit organizations, and he's a member of, which we both share, a membership in the great fraternity of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, which was founded way back in December 4th, 1906. He's received so many awards from the state of Michigan, across the country. As I referenced, he is truly a Detroit legend. Dr. Pickard is also creating a new generation of entrepreneurs with Millionaire Moves, right? This you can probably see, I have the book in front of me here. You can have a chance to win it later today. But he's also creating a new generation of entrepreneurs with Millionaire Moves, 7 proven principles of entrepreneurship, vision, opportunity, relationships, talent, skill set, financial, failure, and faith. So he's going to share his undeniable principles with us this morning. Dr. Pickard, thank you very much for joining me, and so glad to have you. Thanks for joining us. And I think we need to get Dr. Pickard to start his video. Dr. Pickard, are you there? All right, I think we have a little bit of technical difficulty with Dr. Pickard, and I'm going to turn over to our, let's see, Tamika, in terms of, is Dr. Pickard there?
Yep, he's there. He's having difficulties right now. So if you want to talk about, if you want to share some information about your upcoming, the next session or anything like that, I'm going to work with him behind the scenes.
Please, thank you very much. So what we're going to do is our next week's discussion, as Dr. Pickard is getting himself connected, is we're going to be talking about, we're going to be featuring Tony Stovall. And Tony owns Hot Sounds, and Hot Sounds is a 100-year-old business located in downtown Detroit. And one of the reasons that we wanted to have Dr. Tony Stovall join us next week, very simple, is he has survived, his business has survived many a business over the last 100 years. I mean, think about it, 100 years ago, you're talking about the Great Depression, right? When his business first started, we get the historical context of his business. And then certainly World War II, the challenges that business had to go through. And then of course, the Detroit Rebellion back in 1967. And we'll certainly have that conversation about that. And then we earlier talked about the Great Recession of 2000, 2008, 2007, 2008. And then of course the pandemic. And it's my understanding that, Hot Sounds, in case you're wondering, is a clothing store. It's one of the hottest stores in the city and across this state of Michigan.
We okay now?
And really, he's done some great things. So he's going to be joining us. He's going to be joining us next week to talk about his business. And you can see if we can register. And we're doing this session tonight or this morning. Tamika's going to
Mark, can you hear me now?
In the chat room. She's going to drop in the chat room the link to register for next week. I would encourage you to do so. I think we have Dr. Pickard.
Okay, Mark, are you there?
There you are. All right, good to see you.
How are you doing, young fella?
I'm doing just fine. It's always good to see you, Dr. Pickard. And thank you for joining us. So it is a distinct honor. We talked about your background, and it's an extensive background. We wanted to give you an opportunity, if you could, to talk about your entrepreneurial journey, so to speak, how you started and how you arrived, but to where you are today. But I want you to bake in that story, Dr. Pickard, because you told the story in the book about your relationship with my dad and how when you went to get your first loan, what happened. So bake that into the story, because every time you tell that story, I love hearing it. I'm going to turn it over to you to talk about your.
Well, obviously, when you tell the truth, is always a little bit more exciting, and sometimes it can be humorous. But I am a social worker from Flint, Michigan, and I stumbled into business very early in life. I think I was 26 or 27. And the first opportunity was McDonald's with two people named Mel Garrett and Dr. Raymond Snowden. And, we both had PhDs and we thought we knew a little bit about business. So we had this meeting with this banker named Mr. Aubrey Lee at NBD Bank. So we laid out this agenda, and our accountant at that time was George Johnson. And we walked down to NBD and, tall, dark, handsome, looking good, smelling good.
Yeah.
And we have a great meeting with Mr. Aubrey Lee. The meeting went extremely well. But at the end of the meeting, he said, George, would you permit me to interact with my lenders, the guys who are borrowing the money? So George left the meeting, and the three of us sat there with Mr. Aubrey Lee. And he said, you seem to be some nice guys. You got all these PhDs, but you don't know a darn thing about business. Now, let me tell you what you're going to do. This is a true story. He said, first of all, you guys are going to pay me my money back. That's the first thing you're going to do. Secondly, I want you to get in your business and stay there. Don't get involved in all these social activities and all this black stuff. You guys stay in your business. And thirdly, when you start making money, don't go out and buy 3 Cadillacs. Take the money and save it. So that is really my journey, my beginning, and that advice has carried me to where I am today, Mr. Lee. And you tell your mom, your family is primarily responsible for my transition from a social worker to a pretty successful business person. But I must also quickly add that I don't think any place in America could I have accomplished what I accomplished in the city of Detroit. The community, especially the Black community and the white community to agree, was opening up in the 70s with opportunities for people that looked like me. And we just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But I'm forever indebted to the people of Detroit, many of them in heaven now, who made a way out of no way to give us a chance. So you remember that story, young man. Oh,
thank you. And I think that's a great story to share. A couple of things that you highlighted in that story is focus on your business and do what you have to do. Don't go out and waste your money, essentially. I mean, me being his son, of course, I lived it every day and I heard it every day. But now that certainly as part of his legacy, I can still hear his comments, that wash me every single day. But it's so nice to hear you share that story, because when you started your business with those McDonald's back in the 70s, and here we are, as fast forward to 2021, Dr. Pickard, you've had so many significant challenges over the years. And how were you able to overcome some of the challenges over the last, 40 years, or approximately 45 years, the ups and downs of Detroit's economy and what we're going through with this whole pandemic, the 67 rebellion, the economic recession of 2007, 2008, all of these things have happened in our lifetime. How have you been able to overcome some of these challenges from a business standpoint?
Well, one, I used to have hair. I had a big afro back in the day. But there are probably 3 things that have carried me through, and I think most people in this thing called entrepreneurship. One is that we are from a very caring community. The Black and white business community was always accessible to try to help us get from point A to point B. And secondly, I think I've learned over the years that you have to focus very intentionally on the situation you find yourself in, not where you wish you were, not where you're trying to go, but right now, what must I do to save the business and the many jobs that I now represent? And thirdly, I don't apologize. I have an abiding faith that when I do the best I can, God will do the rest. Now, that doesn't mean I can sit around and do nothing. I gotta put the work in.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when I do my best, I really believe that God will do the rest.
Yeah. And now, the theme for this year's workshop is reemerging from the abyss. And clearly the last 13 months have been a significant challenge for small businesses, for businesses alike, for our economy at large. How have you, with your many businesses that you have, how have you been able to manage or handle the abyss that we're currently hopefully beginning to come out of?
Well, we've had our challenges early on. I say there are three things that you have to do in this kind of environment. First of all, you must pause. You just got to sit and be still, absorb all of the dynamics that you think are going on. Try to reflect on your inner strength. Just pause for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to pivot. Things are not going to change just because. You have to pivot sometimes. And then thirdly, you have to adapt to the new environment. And you must be prepared to do whatever. My analogy to myself, I never said this publicly, that the dinosaur probably paused. The dinosaur might have pivoted, but the dinosaur could not adapt.
Yeah.
And so they became extinct. And in some of my business, though, the pandemic was an unbelievable boom, like McDonald's. We can't use the dining room. If you can believe this now, we're doing more business through the drive-through only than we did with the dining room and the drive-through.
Wow.
Explain that to me.
Yeah.
But there's a pent-up demand. People wanted to get out the house for a few minutes, enjoy a good meal, and come to one of the best McDonald's in the world. And that happened to be mine on Michigan and Illinois. So automotive, we had to pause and pivot. But again, our bank worked with us. First Independence came to my rescue on some things. Level One helped out on some things. And I love Fifth Third on some things. So we have been able to get through this thing in a very reasonable manner. We did not lose any of our businesses.
Couple of things that you hit on there. One, I think it's very important, excuse me, to really pick up on. One is you can't sit still. You can't sit still. I mean, I was asked recently as part of a media interview in terms of what should businesses be doing. I said the exact same thing. I say you have to continue to evolve, Dr. Pickard. And if coming out of this pandemic, if you have the same business model that you had 13 months ago, you're not going to be around. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Mm-hmm. And so the point I want to hit on that you just referenced is you have to continue to evolve and adjust to the times. Number one. And number two, is I think it is an opportunity to reinvest in your business, look at your business model, and determine the best way to proceed. Is that a fair way of recapturing that as well?
Excellent way of recapping. And I think that if you are blessed with a great team members, all of us have to look within ourselves and say, okay, how can we all do better than we did yesterday? And I think crises oftentimes permit people to get to a new level of excitement and excellence. So, when you look at the word crisis in Japanese, there are two symbols. It has the same symbol. Tell me, crisis means crisis. It also means opportunity. Mm-hmm. So is this a crisis? Yes, but it's also an opportunity.
Yeah. One of the things that we heard from the economist last week, Jeff Korzenik from Fifth Third, excuse me, is that they're projecting, we're starting to see it now, the economy is beginning to reopen. Sure. No question about that. They're expecting the GDP to increase to maybe year-ago levels, and hopefully in 2022 will be a full recovery. Now, the assumptions are they'll roll out the vaccinations and other things that we're going through. So for those tuning in, and this is being recorded, so those tuning in later as well, what do you tell those businesses that are still not exactly sure what they should be doing right now? In other words, how do they prepare themselves for this economic recovery? What specifically should they be doing here in the middle part of May, and the economy is expected to pick up in June, the June-July time period?
Well, obviously, and this will vary from business to business and from consumer to consumer. But in my opinion, the government is putting a lot of money in the streets. A lot of it goes to individuals, but some of it goes to businesses that need it. Now, obviously, we know there's always the politics of who gets it and who doesn't. But I would strongly encourage people to take advantage of every opportunity there is for government assistance. And you do that by being a part of your chamber, by being a part of the different organizations that you so well know. So once you do that, I would say sit on your cash for a minute.
Mhm.
Let's see what's going to happen. Now, I'm very optimistic, but I know this, the more gunpowder you have, in this case, cash, the better you're going to prepare for the opportunities that are before you. So I would be very reasonable in spending cash right now. I would try to conserve as much as I can and then prepare for the new dawning, because I think the economy is going to explode. I think we'll see double-digit increases in many industries. There's a lot of pent-up demand. And my psychology tell me that people want to get out and they want to spend money and they want to enjoy their lives. And I support that. But you got to be ready financially to take advantage of those opportunities.
So would you encourage businesses at this point to use their credit?
I would be very careful with credit.
Mhm.
I think it's a great resource, but there's so many unknowns right now that I would just be a little bit more conservative than usual. I hate to say this, I'm probably a very liberal person on social stuff, but I'm rather conservative on financial stuff. And we all know the government is putting a lot of money in the street. And it pains me when I hear about the stimulus money going here and there and people running out to Somerset Mall. Please, brothers and sisters, put some of this money under the mattress in the bank, preferably, and let's wait for a moment.
Mhm.
Things are going to keep moving. They are not going to go backwards. They're going to go forward. But you must be ready with your resources, including cash, to take advantage of it.
You know, you make a good point. You talk about your McDonald's as you're doing more business now that we have the dine-in open as well. And then I read an article this past, and by the way, a belated Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. They were saying that the restaurants in downtown Detroit, that the waits were so long that people were waiting half hour to an hour to get into the restaurants, and some of the restaurants weren't even taking reservations anymore. And it gets to your point about that pent-up demand as well, and the change in consumer behavior, where people, from your perspective, you said people going through drive-through restaurants, to use your word earlier, have pivoted, and we're starting to see that pent-up demand, for example, from a business standpoint in downtown Detroit. But across your businesses, are you starting to see that pent-up demand also lift itself as well?
Automobile sales, truck sales. In spite of the chip shortage and being out of some raw materials, we're having some very good numbers automotively. And remember, the chip has really impacted automotive sales because of availability. But in spite of that, we're still seeing very good numbers. There is a pent-up demand. Think about it. This country, and indeed the world, has been on probably 80% lockdown for the last 13 months. And we all are people, and we all enjoy going out, meeting other people, fellowshipping and what have you. And that has been curtailed. And I believe now that the virus is being abated, that things are gonna boom. That's the word I use, boom.
Yeah.
I'm not an economist, but that's what I believe.
We're not economists, but we're business people. And one of the things about being a business person, Dr. Pickard, is that you have to hire good people. You have to have, you look for a strong team. One of the challenges that we're hearing about each and every single day here in Detroit, as well as across the country, right? I'm going, is this hiring challenge, and people are, I know a lot of entrepreneurs have reached out to me, and I've heard from other people saying they're having a hard time finding people right now. And people, quite frankly, some people just are comfortable where they are what they're doing right now. They're not concerned about, going back into the work environment, number one. And number two, I think the numbers, over 3 million women have dropped out of the workforce since the beginning of the pandemic as well. And they're saying we can't have a full recovery until we start getting some of those individuals back in the workforce. Talk about the hiring challenges that you've been seeing. How have you dealt with that? And let's talk briefly about from a women's perspective and supporting those individuals in terms of what they need to get back in the workforce.
Well, the irony of life is that, as one great writer once said, these are the best of times and these are the worst of times. We own business from Alabama to South Carolina to Canada to Michigan, and we cannot find people anyplace. Now, one state, I won't call the name, just eliminated all of the federal subsidies for unemployment. That governor said, hey, we're going to cut it off so you'll go back to work. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think what we got to do is do the things that the present administration is proposing, but more importantly, we must attack childcare. I think that I'm not a mother, obviously, but I think that is a big challenge that we face in America today in getting more people back into the workforce. We must find a way to address childcare ASAP.
I recently saw on the news here in Detroit the other day, they were interviewing a restaurateur on the other side of town. And he says right now, he's been offering $2,000 and $1,000 bonuses for full-time and part-time employees respectively. And the $2,000 bonus and the $1,000 bonus is going to be paid quarterly. And so the reporter said, well, has this helped you to identify and get more people through the door in terms of people that he can interview and hire? He said his response was interesting. My initial response was he was going to have an onslaught of people coming in. He says, we've not had that onslaught of people. He says, however, we have seen an uptick of people coming in to try to get that potential interview. So for those who are tuning in, we always say cash is king. Any other ideas that you can share in terms of helping identify people through these challenging times and maybe hiring people when there is a shortage, so to speak?
Well, I think cash is an important part of it, but moms make very reasonable decisions.
Yeah.
Their first responsibility oftentimes is their children and their family. And we individually as business people can't always solve that, but we are very powerful in trying to lobby our government that we must address child care in America. I think we're one of the few industrialized countries that does not have a reasonable approach to childcare. Think about the number of daycare schools that went out of business. They just went out of business. So we lost that. And the idea that Big Mama and Auntie down the street, we don't live like that anymore. We're all decentralized. So childcare is a big problem, and we must contribute our ideas to the government to help solve it.
We're going to be going to segue into Q&A in a few minutes. If you do have a question, please drop them in the Q&A portion of the on the screen. So you see a Q&A button. Please drop your question. We'll go into questions in a few moments. I'll give you a chance to ask Dr. Pickard anything that you like. How do you feel? We talked earlier about this, and I think I heard you say you're optimistic. I want to go back to this question about the economic recovery. The state of Michigan, as we know, for example, have hit 55% vaccinations, partial vaccinations. The governor said it's the back-to-back program, meaning if you get 55% of the state's population 16 and over, then you can begin to invite people back into the workforce. So we hit that number back on Monday. So people can start to go back into the workforce or back to work on May 24th. So 2 weeks from this past Monday. So as we think about the economic recovery, how do you feel? Are you bullish? Are you optimistic? Are you neutral? I mean, what do you see us by the end of this year economically, and then from a business standpoint for entrepreneurs as well?
Well, let's go to the health thing first, vaccinations. Unfortunately, I thought people would just line up as I did, being a seasoned citizen, to get this stuff. But I believe now is the time to incentivize all those people that are on the fence. For an example, one of my friends, Dr. Larry Crawford, who always has these crazy ideas, said, what we should do, give everyone $100 to get the vaccination. $100. I'm not opposed to that anymore. I'm willing to try that because we're protecting that person, that family, but more importantly, we're protecting our communities.
Yeah.
And I think the government should look at incentivizing people to take care of their own health. Now that sounds like un-American, but hey, we have to do what we do at this point in time. And I'm not opposed to financially rewarding people for taking care of their own health and the health of others at this point.
Yeah, and I know it's a personal choice. We're not getting into a political discussion. We're talking here from a business perspective. as you are, I am fully vaccinated, and when I got it, I felt great. I just felt relieved, quite frankly, when I did it. But
Free at last.
yeah. I mean, basically, I was like a kid at Christmas the first time. I mean, when it first came out, I had to drive to Ohio to get the first shot because Detroit is much bigger than Toledo, and everything he was just like sold out. So I went down. But I will tell you a funny story. I walked in and I saw the pharmacist with the needle. And I don't like shots, but I got to tell you, I was a kid at Christmas. I just put that arm out and said, "Give it to me." And then when I got the second one, it was I was so relieved and so happy that I
feel
got
bad.
that. I mean, now again, we're not making a statement. We're simply sharing information with you. We know it's a personal choice. And my last question. So as we look on the back half of the economy, as we get the back half of this year, 2021, I know you answered the question, but from a business standpoint, what do you tell entrepreneurs today, the prospects from your perspective as a leading business executive, by the end of this year, going to 2022? What are your expectations from a business standpoint?
I think we'll see added growth.
Okay.
I think the chip situation, for an example, which not only affects automotive, it affects every facet of this economy, that will be improved upon. And I believe personally, the pent-up demand is high.
Yeah.
Think about housing. You cannot build new housing in 6 months. It's going to take a while. So that pent-up demand for housing is going to remain. And you've heard all these stories. It is a seller's market.
Yes.
Anything you put up on Tuesday, you probably have 3 or 4 offers on Thursday and Friday. So it is going to happen. And there's people that can sit by and say, well, it's only a moment. No, you have 13 months of pent-up demand. Mm-hmm. And people are going to exercise that right.
And that is why it's important as you're tuning in today, you're attending this very important session. This is why you have to have your business prepared. You can hear all the economists across the country. You listen to the news reports. We are on the steps of a fairly strong economic recovery. The question I would ask you all before we go to Q&A is very simple. Is your business ready? Are you ready? Do not sit around saying, "Oh, I'm feeling sorry for myself. I'm not sure." That's not what we're saying. You need to be proactive in your thought process. It's only May 12th. Do the right thing. Prepare your business. Let's see. We have a few questions here. So one question is, obviously, some businesses will not survive. Is it dangerous to give false hope?
I don't know about false hope, but I try to know when you've been somewhat successful like I have over the years, people always seeking advice. And I say, I don't focus on the pathology. I focus on the hopeology. I don't know how many times I was told as a young Black boy in Flint, Michigan, I was not college material. Mm-hmm. I went, this is the truth, Mr. Lee. I went to community college on probation. I went to Western Michigan on probation. I went to the University of Michigan on probation, and I went to The Ohio State on probation every time. But yet, my grit, my grime, and my God got me through. So yes, there's something to be concerned about, false hope. But I tell you, I rather deal with more hopeology than other kinds of things. I'm a strong believer that the will of a person is strongest when things get going tough.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I've been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you have. And,
Read my book. Read my book.
Well, we're going to get to your book in a second. I've already showed it because I know you're in the process of writing another book as well. But someone does have a question as it relates to your McDonald's. And the question is, how expensive is it to become a McDonald's franchisee today versus when you started with your first store?
The numbers are, now remember, we opened up on March 14th, 1971. And everything, the franchise, the equipment, McDonald's always owned the land in the building, but everything, the flagpole and all that was $100,000. Mm-hmm. And today, unfortunately, it's a lot more than that. But the important thing is to get in, whether it's a McDonald's or whether it's a Burger Garbage or Taco Bell. If you can just get in, you'll find a way oftentimes to overcome the big numbers that you look at, because the menu prices are higher, but everything is higher. But the key is getting in. How do I find enough money and enough wherewithal to get into a business such as a franchise? And there are some franchises that are very inexpensive. So don't just look at McDonald's and all the big ones. Look at some of the smaller franchises. I believe in franchises because I was not a, quote, business person. I have a PhD in psychology, and that wasn't in business. But thanks to your dad, I've done pretty good.
You've done okay for yourself. And, franchising is another form of entrepreneurship as well. And people forget that. I mean, you obviously have the corporate side of the business, but you're running your own business and staffing and things like that. So it's another form of franchise. It's another form of entrepreneurship. Another question that we have, it sounds like someone's involved with youth, says, Dr. Pickard, how do you suggest we fundraise for youth-centered programming? And what corporate foundations are supporting Black and Brown youth programs that you know of right now?
Well, obviously, I'm a social worker by training, and I read a lot about all the different programs that go on. But I will be candid. I can't tell you the foundations in Detroit today that are actively involved in funding these kinds of programs, but I know there are many. I just read something very nice about Franklin Wright Settlement House, which has probably been in business 100 years. The Urban League, I just read, got a new grant. So there are lots of opportunities out there. And the challenge in life is oftentimes matching the opportunity up with the need. And oftentimes the people who have the need don't know about the many opportunities. But I think Detroit is very blessed to have a strong foundation and caring community. I believe that.
We have another question. We have a few questions, so bear with us. As a new high school art teacher, what steps can I take right now to obtain and maintain passive income? So I'm assuming that might be in the form of entrepreneurship or other ways of basically making money passively.
Well, again, art teacher, but I just know this, that my grandfather called it two-arm living. He said, you must have a job and a hustle. And he was talking about legal things. Now he wasn't talking about marijuana and stuff like that. So I would say to that person, sometimes you can just read and you will hear about opportunities. For an example, if you're a painter or if you're an artist, what would happen if you said to a nursing home, listen, I'll come in one day a week to volunteer to do some paintings with some of your senior citizens. And what happens if someone goes to see their mother or father and they say, oh, you paint? I've been thinking about doing a portrait with my family. That is how the relationship thing works.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, if you don't network, you might not work. So relationships are very, very important. And sometimes you got to give to receive.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's a nice segue to the next question. I think this person is probably talking about the relationship that you have with my father from a relationship standing with a banker. And so, first of all, this individual says, Dr. Pickard, I love your book. Says, what's the best way to build and maintain relationships with bank lenders? Talk about that relationship when you first met my father, how you built it over the years, and then how it parlayed itself into other relationships with other lenders across the city.
One, you pay the loan back.
Yeah,
that's number one.
Yeah.
And two, you try to be perceived as a good steward of the blessings and the money that you've earned in the community as a business person. And I never thought about this, but I went from a borrower to serving on 4 bank boards in my career in Detroit. And some of that was because my business became very successful, but a lot of that was the relationships. Because your dad said, pay me my money. Mm-hmm. And we did. And I think that's a block building kind of thing and networking. And I would say again, I have a lot of confidence in Bill Pickard, but I don't think if God had planted me in a Chicago or Atlanta, I could have done what I've done in this great city. Yeah. And I'm forever indebted to the people of Detroit.
My father said that so much. He had opportunities to go elsewhere across the country. He said, absolutely not. And this was his home. Although my parents are from the South, they migrated to Detroit. I was born in the city. But he said the exact same thing, that this was, in his perspective, was the greatest city for him to do business in. He always would say that. Final question before we open it up for a giveaway. Someone here is saying, regarding your agriculture venture, we're a for-profit child therapy group on a farm in Ann Arbor. How could we partner to make a difference in the lives of Black and Brown youth? It sounds like they want to maybe establish some type of relationship or a partnership with you, I
Yeah.
guess, through your
Quickly, what we're doing, we're providing scholarships for students to go to Florida A&M to achieve their bachelor's in agriculture. If that person will reach out to us by email, maybe there are some possibilities for internships. Maybe there are some possibilities that some of your students could apply for our scholarship next year. I'm very proud to say, Mark, that this year we probably have our 4 students that we're sending down to Florida A&M. You'll hear more about this. It is unbelievable what we think we're going to do with agriculture in the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan. We think agriculture is a growth industry. It's not your grandmother's and grandfather's farm anymore.
Okay, and so what I would ask that person to do, if you could, is to email a direct message to Tamika Brown, just Tamika Brown with your information, please, and she will follow with you directly. What we're going to do is first of all, Dr. Pickard, I want to thank you very much, and we're going to give someone a chance to win your book. So I'm not going to have you go anywhere. But I want, it's always, first of all, it's a distinct honor to always have you. I know you spoke a few years ago at the when we met face to face for the virtual situation. I'm always inspired by your words. I've had the opportunity of seeing you speak across the city at different functions. And, I got to say, man, you are real. You are successful, but the fact of the matter is you are real. And I love the fact that you speak from the heart. And it's important that people really understand where you're coming from. And I want to thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir.
So before he goes, we are going to give you an opportunity of winning a book. This book, Millionaire Moves, right? 7 Proven Principles of Entrepreneurship by Dr. William F. Pickard, PhD. And so what we're going to do here is ask a question. And all we're going to ask you to do is whoever is to put your answer A, B, C, or D in the chat room. All right. And then what we're going to do is a poll up here as well. So here we are. You see a question in front of you. Here we go. Whoever gets the right answer will get a chance to win this book. What role did the Black community play in pressuring corporate America in offering opportunities to Blacks in the 60s and 70s? Go. Hang tight, everyone. I feel like what's the game show? Jeopardy. All right, I think we're good here. So we should be having I should be getting a message shortly in terms of who the winner is. All right, just waiting for the response. All right, we have the winner, and I want to say congratulations. And the winner is Yolanda C. Yolanda C, congratulations. And Tamika will follow up directly with you to arrange for delivery of the book. And I got to tell you, to all of you on the chat here, today's session, I want to encourage you to get the book. This is a very good book, and I've really enjoyed reading it. So again, Dr. Pickard, I want to thank you very much for joining us today. It's always a distinct honor to have you. And
tell hi.
Absolutely.
Tell your mother hello.
I will definitely do that. Thank you very much. And as we wrap up this session, just a couple of very brief closing comments. Just want to reiterate one more time a couple of things. One is you will be receiving a survey. The right answer, by the way, somebody asked us, the right answer was B. The right answer was B. That was Blacks were a major influence in pressuring corporate America to offer opportunities to Blacks in the 60s and 70s. That was the right answer, my bad. But again, you're going to be receiving a survey at about 2 o'clock this afternoon regarding this session. We encourage you to fill it out. You can also register. Tamika should be dropping in the chat room right now the link for next week's session, which is open. The link, which is already open to register for next week. And again, we're going to be talking about leading through a pandemic, a conversation with Tony Stovall. And that will be held May 19th from 10 until 11 a.m. And you can go to my website to also, you can also go to my website regarding filling out the registration information. There is one final question, Tamika. I am going to defer to you quickly before we break. People are asking how can they get in touch with Dr. Pickard? Any thoughts from your perspective before we go?
Dr. Pickard, would you like to share an email address or a website where our audience can follow up with you for further discussions?
Yes, obviously. You can feel free to give it out, but it's wpickard@ardlogistics.com. But Tamika, you have carte blanche.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat. Thank you.
So hang tight, everyone, in the chat. Again, we thank you all for participating. Please register for next week's session. Tell as many people as possible about this. We are having record numbers, and I want you all to go out and make it a great day, make it a great week. Thank you very much for joining me for this week's small business workshop and re-emerging from the abyss. Have a great day, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you next week, next Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Have a great day. Thank you.